are standing in Times Square, where you see a lot of activity. You hear a band playing behind me. You can see people sitting out, having a coffee, chatting, catching up with friends. And it sort of seems natural, even on a cold, blustery winter day here where it's 40 degrees in New York City. All of these are the kind of type of things that wouldn't have happened a couple years ago because there wasn't enough room on the sidewalks, and this great attraction that people come from all around the world to see was pretty much dedicated towards cars.
It's important to remember that as much as some people drive, that fewer than half of all New Yorkers own cars, so we need to make a city that works for commuters, for drivers, for cyclists, for pedestrians, and for folks of every age, for young, for old, for in between.
When we look at people that are going into city planning and people that are working as city managers, they're beginning to think differently about how cities function. And they're not thinking that the highway is terribly important for central business districts.
It's okay to keep a couple high-speed roads like the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway to keep us moving around from one part of the city to the other, but it's not okay to tune every one of our streets for that purpose. And so the work that New York City is doing in spots like this is helping bring back more life to the streets. And the rest of the neighborhoods around the city and around the country that are moving towards this approach are also going to benefit.
The first thing to note is that this is not just a bike lane, it's what we call complete street design. We had a very wide avenue with 5 lanes in it already, and they were 12 feet wide lanes. So rather than take out a lane, we actually just kept the same number of lanes but made them a little narrower, which has the side benefit of slowing down the traffic.
Columbus Avenue, before the bike lane was in, used to be the width of a highway. It's often, even sometimes still, like a Grand Prix out there, but the bike lane and the traffic islands make it so much easier to cross the street. They're like a little oasis.
So you can see that people will come right through. Here's a left car coming through, and he's going to wait because he's going through the islands and wait for the pedestrians to pass. So it really is helpful for people with baby carriages and strollers, older people with walkers and wheelchairs. You can observe them on the street stopping in these islands and taking a breath before moving on.
When I saw that there was going to be a whole lane of parked cars between me on my bike and the traffic, I was really quite ecstatic. Before the lanes, I would have avoided Columbus Avenue because there are too many huge trucks. And now it's a completely different story. I could ride happily on Columbus.
At least 2/3 of our staff commute by bike every day into the store, and so it's only helped them get to and from work, having that bike lane there.
Our business is like a lot of delivery. It's good for business or good for city, protect for by itself, the delivery guy. And they get used to that. It's wonderful. Yeah, they love it.
I think especially for the bikers and what I heard at the community board meeting, that they need a safe place to ride, and we've been, like I said, all for it, and we think it's great. All of our vendors have been able to get here. They never really have a huge problem with parking.
Hasn't affected our shipments. We have a bus stop in front of the store anyway, so we've always had to be cautious about how our shipments are coming in and out of the store.
And eventually, hopefully very soon, we'll be planting trees and flowers in these tree pits, and it's a way for the community to become involved in the plantings. It's another amenity and unexpected outcome from the bike lane.
What we have here on 1st and 2nd Avenue on the east side of Manhattan is an attempt to really change the street. We've got a dedicated bus lane, we've got a dedicated bike lane. We have these lanes somewhat protected. The goal here is basically to create a street that is more friendly for pedestrians, that is more friendly for bicyclists, and that is more friendly for traditional car users as well as commuters who commute by bus.
I think complete streets are really an important reshaping of the streets so that they reflect the number of people that are being moved by each mode. Buses move a great number of people, so providing and dedicating a lane for buses makes a lot of sense.
I take the Select bus over there. Oh, that is great. It gets me uptown much quicker time. When they said they were going to get a limited that would come up and down these avenues quicker, I said, oh, yeah. But the lanes have made a big difference, so they're fast. And you get on fast.
People in the east side of Manhattan are 3 times more likely to commute by walking to and from work than anywhere else in the city. The intersection just north of here is one of the most dangerous intersections in this entire corridor. And some of these improvements are intended directly to make the intersections safer for pedestrians.
I love the island. The traffic's coming out from here, and they can't just zoom around. They have to wait for you. It gives you more time to cross, and there's not a lot of time on this light here. So it's a help.
I support the Prospect Park West redesign. I think it's a great example of a community-driven project. The community board asked for it, both to reduce speeding and calm traffic on Prospect Park West, and to create a safe place to bike and to make Prospect Park West safer for all its users.
Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, we had a big push for traffic calming. At the same time, the Bloomberg administration was moving toward adding bike lanes. When it came to Prospect Park West, it seemed a perfect opportunity to combine the two, to both narrow, it was a 3-lane, a racetrack essentially, while providing a very important link in the bicycle path system around the city. So the Community Board 6 Transportation Committee, jumped on that and felt that it was a worthwhile project.
So a lot of people who live on Prospect Park West have reported to me that before it felt to them like living on a speedway. I drive, and I remember, you could zoom in and out of those 3 lanes, and there was something fun about it, but it was dangerous. And I think folks who drove it knew it, and folks who lived there felt it.
A road like this, by slowing down the motor speeds from about just under 35 miles an hour to just above 25 miles an hour, that begins to make a dramatic increase in pedestrian safety for lots of reasons. Cars are more likely to yield to them. Cars, the stopping distance is shorter once they spot a pedestrian in the roadway. And even in the unfortunate incident of there being an impact, the likelihood of severe injury is less at the slower speeds.
Before the project went into effect, more than 3/4 of cars were speeding, and now it's only about 1 in 5.
Since they put the new traffic system in, it's been fantastic. I'm not a bicycle rider, but even without the bicycle path, I like the traffic calming.
We love the new bike path. I'm out here a lot with my boys. We live in the North Slope. We take it all the way down to Bartle Pritchard Square, then we cut into the park and we hit the soccer fields. And the best thing about it is I can get home now. I never used to be able to get home. And now we have a 2-way bike lane, so it's safe both directions.
It's just very calm and it's very civilized. I didn't have to ride on the sidewalk like I used to. I actually felt safe. I didn't feel like anything was going to hit me. And other bicyclists were obeying the traffic signals and stopping when they were supposed to stop.
I'll tell you that as a cyclist and as just someone who's walking his dog all the time, I like the new design. It slows down the neighborhood, and a beautiful park next to a beautifully designed street. It's fantastic.
It's extraordinarily important that we find ways to make our communities more accessible to all the people who want to use them and allow for kinds of transportation that are more sustainable in the long run.
It's increased our foot traffic. I mean, that was something we anticipated, was having the bike lane in would draw more people into the store just because it's more accessible.
As New York is changing its streets where people drive in a more civil fashion, it just brings out even more people who walk, more people who bike, more people who don't get in a car.
Cars are not bad. I mean, they're very useful, but I think the changes are better for the city. I think it promotes people to be healthier. We need people to be healthier.
The protected bike lanes are part of a broad vision of a city that is friendly to more than just the automobile, and it will take time for people to become accustomed to sharing the streets in this new way.
We're also beginning to restore the streets as places that we once saw in our great neighborhoods from 50, 60, 70, 100 years ago. And this is important because it helps make the local economies more vibrant, it makes the neighborhoods more enriched, but also it returns people to the ability to walk and bike around.
People have countered, they've said there's problems for people who live in the area who have cars. There may be inconvenience, but I think you have to sometimes trade off inconvenience for safety, and safety is paramount.
For the most part, what media looks for is a story, and a story that things are going well just doesn't make it to the headlines. But if people are complaining, and people complain about almost anything, it will get itself into the newspapers. But I can tell you from my point of view, and I'm the Dear Abby of traffic, if a driver has a complaint, they will write to Gridlock Sam. I haven't been getting complaints. No complaints about 1st, 2nd Avenues, no complaints about the 9th Avenue or 8th Avenue bike lanes. So the drivers seem to be adjusting to it. I think we're moving almost as many people in cars as we moved before.
You can see the bikes coming. Watch them. Watch them. Oh, it is much more visible. You can see the bikes. You can see the cars. The only thing you have to do is not to just step out because you see an island here and when the light's against you. That's very important, and people have to learn that.